Supacell is a show on Netflix that I originally was not going to watch, but I'm very glad that I did. One of the YouTubers I really enjoy watching showed some clips of it, and I thought it was cool. I didn't know at first if it was just a show pandering to quote-unquote black people, or if it was something with substance, and it turned out it was the latter. So I'm just going to go over the characters first, and then maybe do some speculation for Season 2. And the full review is up on my blog right now, storiesfromthenewworld.com. And excuse my voice if I sound a little rough. Allergies have been bothering me all day. It's super humid out. Been drinking some tea and it hasn't really been helping. And let's get into this. So the premise of the show is that 5 strangers are brought together due to all having a close relative with sickle cell anemia disease. The disease mutated. It's not really given why it mutated. I believe it's due to solar flares, kind of like in our world right now. Solar flares and the radiation is giving mutated genes to a certain group of people or certain groups of people around the world. Not to exclude anybody, because I really just don't know what's going on. But something totally is going on, in my opinion. But these mutated sickle cell genes have become supercells, basically, and have given select groups of people superpowers. And this is not a just predominantly quote-unquote black thing, as one of the characters, Michael, says. And towards the end of the series, actually, towards the end of Season 1, I should say, because I think we're getting a Season 2, we do see some characters under the Knights Templar-esque masks, who are of different complexions, maybe Hispanic, maybe Asian. I couldn't really tell because it's dark out in their scenes and they're only shown for like a split second. But basically, the powers are triggered by their cells mutating and coming in contact with others who have also awakened their powers. I don't know if this has to do with the solar flares or the radiation, and it can also be triggered by the stress in their lives, as a lot of these characters are just kind of struggling. But then again, I think South London, or just London in general, is just very ghetto. So maybe that's just where all their stress lies. Like, anything I watch, I'm into period dramas a lot, and anything I watch, whether it be a period drama or just a regular show, a documentary, London is ghetto in any era, in any fictional world, real world. Just like Paris. Paris is ghetto. London is ghetto. I mean, whatever. Okay, so basically we start with Michael, who is the hardest working delivery man in South London. And he's finally happy in his life. I mean, he was happy before, but he's like settled now. He has an apartment with the woman he loves, his longtime girlfriend Dion. He just bought her a car, a BMW. I believe he's middle class despite living in a high-rise apartment and having a BMW in English society standards, just based on a lot of the English and UK media I've watched. And basically one day, actually the day that he proposes to his girlfriend, he's transported to the future for the first time, and he meets his older self, who tells him that basically he needs to assemble 4 of these other random people, and all 5 of them need to be together to stop Dion's death. And due to a mishap with Andre getting captured before meeting, there are only 4 of them, and when these Knights Templar-esque people show up, Dion dies. I don't know if this was different in the first timeline. I don't know if Dion was deleted by these people and Michael didn't know who did it in the first timeline, or if it was always Crazy who did it and Michael just didn't have that knowledge at the time, since it seems like the events moved up rather than changing. So I guess Spud's theory on the butterfly effect was wrong. Then we have Andre, who I just mentioned. I didn't like this character. He really pissed me off, but a few of the characters pissed me off just because they reminded me of people in my life and people I've met. Like Andre, Charlene, and Tazer they just irked me. Like, I couldn't stand their scenes, I couldn't stand them, which I would say is a credit to the show's writing, since I had such a strong reaction to these characters and their antics. But Andre is quote-unquote financially embarrassed. He's done some time, but all because he didn't want to snitch on a friend, or at least that's what he told a quote-unquote another black man during a job interview, who later didn't hire him either. I don't know why he decided to open up to this one man. I don't know if it's because he thought that he was black, that he would give him a job. I don't know what was going on with that. But basically, Andre has money issues. He keeps getting fired from jobs, despite he keeps getting fired from jobs because he doesn't disclose that he has a criminal record. He has a son, AJ, and the local drug dealers are basically hawking AJ, trying to get him into no good shenanigans. So one night, Andre is kind of frustrated, and he actually ends up breaking an ATM, and that's how the shady organization ends up finding him, or at least putting him on the radar, so to speak. And Andre ends up using this money to wine and dine AJ, give him things that he always wanted to get him, and take him on shopping sprees. But then one day, some bill collectors show up and embarrass Andre in his own home in front of his son. And Andre loses all the money that he had. So then, but his slick-talking friend has the brilliant idea of robbing the trap house where the drug dealers that are trying to poach his son, AJ, are employed. Eventually, Andre does do this, and the safe ends up being empty, but that's not really the core thing I want to talk about here. What really bothered me is that Andre is an idiot. So when these people use their powers at high capacity, they are often out cold afterwards. I don't fault Andre for that, because he used a lot of energy at the trap house shootout brawl, or whatever that scene was, where all the characters met except Michael. Ironically, when Michael was trying to get them together the whole entire time, and the one time he's not there, they all end up meeting. Due to Andre being out cold because he was out doing hood rat things with his friends as a grown man, it causes a rift and a misunderstanding between him and AJ. Earlier that day, just before Andre's job interview, AJ wanted to hang out, and Andre said that they would hang out regardless of whether or not the job interview went well. And then Andre changed his mind abruptly and left AJ hanging, which AJ then got in the car of the drug dealers, because again, they've been trying to poach him and they just keep lingering over him, I guess waiting for some signs of weakness. And AJ goes with them. He's at the trap house. Andre actually walks out of the trap house when he's there scoping it out, and doesn't notice that his son is in the back seat of the drug dealer's car. And then, due to the misunderstanding I was just talking about, AJ ends up working for them. And Andre is in the same place, Ashington Estate, except he doesn't notice because he's too busy working for the other ops, trying to harm and capture these other people with superpowers. And that's why I don't really like Andre, because Andre was trying so hard to be a good role model to his son, and despite doing the things he did, which I don't really care about, breaking into the ATM or all that other stuff, it's just a simple fact that he was so wrapped up in his own nonsense that he forgot about his son and kept ignoring him, and that drove his son into these drug dealers' clutches. And the fact that Andre is oblivious to this just kind of pisses me off, because it's just like, what was it all for? You didn't get the money. I mean, the trap houses still exist. Like, they got your son. He's out slinging drugs and surrounded by miscreants, and you have no clue. It really pissed me off. But moving on to Sabrina. Sabrina was my favorite of the cast, and like Michael, I enjoyed watching her scenes, mainly because they're both positive people, despite all the other shenanigans we see in this show. And unfortunately, Sabrina has a little sister named Charlene, who is a complete thought. I mean, I'm just going to be honest, she's a hood rat. She has nothing going on. She keeps putting herself in bad situations and then crying about it and wanting to be saved. But then when Sabrina's in a bad situation, Charlene acts like she's Superwoman and wants to fight everybody. But when Charlene's in a terrible situation herself, she turns into a church mouse. She does nothing. So it's kind of crazy to see, but there are people like that in real life. I know a few people like that in real life, and I guess that's why she annoyed me. And also, Charlene keeps kind of bashing Sabrina for wanting more in life, because Sabrina goes into work early and leaves late, and Charlene basically tells Sabrina that they're never promoting quote unquote a black woman to head nurse. But eventually, Sabrina actually does get the position of head nurse, and it's kind of dampened by the fact that Charlene gets kidnapped by Crazy, her, one of the drug dealers, and her ex-boyfriend, who was beating her before he went to jail. And she gets kidnapped, and she is sent to the shady organization who's doing this human experimentation on the people with superpowers. So Sabrina's arc is kind of just trying to find her sister and working with these people that she just met, who are, well, some of them are slightly aggressive. Mainly Tazer, but we'll get to him in a minute. So let's talk about Rodney, the biracial boy wonder, who is upset that his white mother wants nothing to do with him, and who only has powers because of his mysterious black father, who I'm pretty sure otherwise he would not ever associate with this group of people. So Rodney lives in a small flat with his white best mate Spud, and they sell drugs together to make ends meet. Rodney on the street openly advertises his weed business and tries to pick up every white woman who passes by him, and smiles at every middle-aged white woman in proximity of a quote-unquote black child. And I keep bringing up race because that's all Rodney is about. I mean, he's super fast, he likes potato chips, and he's just upset that he's not white passing enough for his mother's husband. And his stepfather, I think the guy's name was Greg, which, I don't want to call Greg a racist, or whatever the mother's new husband's name is. I don't want to call him a racist because Rodney kind of seems like a problem, and he was kicked out at 16 and lived in a hostel with his best friend Spud. So I don't know if Rodney was the problem because he was too overprotective of his mother, or if he was aggressive to the stepfather, or if the stepfather just felt threatened by another man being in the house, and it had absolutely nothing to do with race. Because, what is his name again? Rodney is not that dark. To be honest, he's like a light to medium light beige color, and his hair has a little bit of a curl, which he could have just straightened out if it was really that much of a problem. So I don't know if Rodney's projecting because he feels insecure, just like Charlene is projecting because she feels insecure about herself, or if maybe the mother's husband really is some sort of vicious racist. I'm going to leave the jury out on that until season 2, but what do you think about that situation? And then Tazer, last and certainly least, because I did not like this guy. So Tazer is a presumably Muslim boy from Africa who is actually the devil in disguise. Like, this kid is evil. And his knife's name is Tazer. It's like a big hunting knife. Very big, jagged hunting knife, like something you'd use to, like, hunt deer or something. And he just goes around, quote-unquote, murking the ops. I don't know why a lot of these British people use American slang. They use our slang, they dress like us, they use our musical influences, and then have disdain for us Americans, so I don't really get the disconnect with that. But, yeah, Tazer is in a gang. He's a hood booger. And his mentor was Crazy, who is crazy. So, I guess that tells you all you need to know about Tazer. And, in front of his grandmother, he acts like a perfect gentleman, and he's respectful, and he's, like, humble. But then, anywhere else, with anybody, even Michael and Sabrina, who saved his life, and Rodney, who saved his life, he treats everybody else like garbage. And pulls knives on people. He tickled in one timeline before Michael rewound. His little hood booger friends almost killed Michael, so, I don't like Tazer. But, I guess he's important in the future. in that flash forward Michael had, it seemed like he and Tazer were cool. I don't know how far into the future that was. I think Michael did have the date, but I just don't have it written down right now. But yeah, Tazer also has mommy issues. His mother was the first woman who was deleted during the first episode, trying to escape. And then Sabrina and Charlene have daddy issues. Rodney has mommy issues. A lot of these characters have mommy and daddy issues, which could just be explained for why they are the way they are. And plus, again, London is just ghetto. So, just to wrap it up, Ashington Estate is probably where everything is going down. A really big apartment building complex, I guess, that is kind of like they cloned Tyrone, where it's just a dilapidated building in the middle of nowhere that is actually a front for all kinds of terrible things and disappearances and drug activity and ladies of the night and all this other shady stuff. And it turns out the person who's behind this, or one of the people who's behind this, is the quote-unquote nice white lady who runs a sickle cell research clinic and who is suspiciously paying top dollar for sickle cell people who are related to somebody who has sickle cell or otherwise quote-unquote black blood. I think Tazer and his little hood rat friends even have a conversation about this, about how they've never been paid to give their blood before, which is a super bright red flag. This lady, I think her name was Amy, I don't really remember, but she had Michael's picture up on her clipboard, so I guess Michael's going to be her target. She probably realizes already that she has Michael's mother in the facility, so I guess Michael will have to deal with that in season 2. And it kind of set up in the last scene that Tazer wants revenge for the deletion of his mother. Sabrina needs to find her sister, who was taken by the organization Charlene. Andre, I don't know what Andre's goal is going to be in season 2, since AJ's already on the street and he's basically right there next to him, and Andre didn't even know. So I don't know what Andre's goal is for season 2. I guess get some money and be a decent father. And Rodney, again, I don't know what his goal will be for season 2. To stop dwelling on his biracialness? I don't know. But what did you guys think of this show? Did you watch it? And do you think there's any correlation between the title screen having an eye that kind of looks like a corona solar flare and the belief online that the solar flares that we're experiencing and the northern lights and all the radiation everywhere across the country, even in the Northeast here where I live, is doing something to our DNA on a molecular level that we can't really tell right now. So let me know your thoughts. Leave them in the comment section below. And wow, this is 19 minutes. And check out my blog. And I will see you guys again soon. Bye bye.